now we have a presentation by Umar Shankar Pandey. The title is Synthesizing Nyaya Rhetoric and Sphota Linguistic Approaches, a comprehensive exploration of an Indian communication model.
Thank you, Professor Sandel and Professor Shrikant, for the support. Thank you, Professor Kurin. So a lot of the things that I'll be talking about today could be slightly counterintuitive for Western scholars, because I'm going to talk about language in an extended sense. Language not as sound units or a string of sound units having some meaning, but something beyond that. Basically, keeping in with one of the suggestions from one of the reviewers to keep it to one point, so I'm just keeping it to the Sphota framework here. I got a few printouts I have distributed amongst you, and I'll take it back from you because, as you know, it's just a work under progress. So one of the major differences between the Eastern and Western cultures is their orientation towards unity and harmony. So here we are talking about more about unity of beings, more about the unity of the phenomenal world, the knowable world, and that's where the difference lies, and that's where this Sphota theory that I'm going to talk about talks about. At the basic of everything, and this is something, again, as I said, counterintuitive, because in the major philosophies of our land, there is no concept of God. There is a concept of Brahman, which is a consciousness which exists in everybody. The same consciousness resides in all living and non-living beings. And the Shabda Brahman and everything that I'm going to talk about is related to this unity of being, that when I'm talking, it's already exists, the potentiality already exists within you. So this particular model that I'm going to talk about, it was not there in the paper. I kind of created this schematic model for this presentation here. So Shabda Brahman is about sound Brahman. I'll explain that. So the background is that this Brahman is pervasive, it's ubiquitous, it's there amongst everybody. It's beyond the level of intellect and mind, something which is much deeper, and that's what we say consciousness. So Brahman is just the consciousness which is beyond or higher than the intellect or the buddhi level, as we say in India. This is the schematic diagram that I have created. I'll explain each words of it, and I'm trying not to relate it to. There have been a number of studies which have related it to Derrida and to Heidegger and to many other people. I'm not going to talk about that. Just the main concepts over here. So the concept of Sphota, and this was proposed by Bhartrhari, grammarian philosopher, way back in 5th century current era. And it has been debated upon, and there have been kind of objections raised, objections answered, and so on and so forth. So this is where we lie. So language is not just the signifier, but it is also meaning itself. When we talk, so in that case, it's not language, it's sound plus meaning. And we'll just talk about how that is revealed, which is already there, the potentiality is already there. So it is a unity which already exists in the mind of the speaker. And it is also there in the mind of the hearer. And these sounds are manifested only to reveal that meaning. And that's where the idea of Sphota lies. As I said, it's a complex kind of a thing, but to put it very simply, it's the signifier and the signified combined, if I can use those words. So everyday communication happens when the sentences, and Bhartrhari talks about different levels of Sphota. He kind of the general view is that it is the sentence which carries the meaning. They talk of phonemes, they talk of words, but they are just indicators. It's the sentence. It's a complete sentence. It's called the Vakya Sphota. So that's where the entire meaning is. So the sentences, whether they are present as complete units within the speaker. So it takes two aspects, the sounds that are being uttered and the actual meaning. So this Sphota has these things. So as the listener hears all these words together, then this sudden flash, aha, that flash is what is known as Pratibha. So we are talking of two different levels. As I said, 10 minutes is probably too small to talk about these deep concepts. But basically, Sphota is the idea of language as having some kind of an extended meaning, not just meaning carrying units, but meaning itself. And the function is to reveal the Sphota which already exists in you. So it already exists in the hearer, and that's the idea where we talk about. So it talks about Dhwani. Also, when we talk of Dhwani, there is also the aspect of the rasa. I'm sure many of you might have heard about that aspect of rasa, the aesthetic, I have, thank you. So the aesthetic pleasure that you derive from certain emotional experiences, and that are closer to the affect theory as we know. So the Dhwani is the physical aspect of the speech consisting of transient sequential sounds, and Sphota is the underlying indivisible essence that conveys the meaning of the essence. So if I have to put it again in another diagram, so although the conceptualization is that it is indivisible, but just as a heuristic representation, we are just showing it as a word sound and a word meaning. So when we want to communicate an idea or word, we begin with a Sphota, and as I said, it's already inherent in the speaker as a unity, and the listener, as he hears, he perceives it as a unity. Now, this is, okay, I'll skip over that. So these are the three layers of Sphota, as I said, that this particular philosophy talks of. And it's the Vakya Sphota, the third one, the sentence Sphota, which is the most important one. Again, I'll skip this. So even the cognition part is not that important. Pratibha is more about intuition, as I said. It's a flash of understanding when you get the Sphota, when the Sphota is revealed, the understanding that flashes, and it also has something from the hearer as well. So that's one very, very important. Again, as I said, there was this particular wonderful book by Bimal Krishna Motilal where he talks about this as India's contribution to the study of language. And these are the two very, very major contributions, and which we think is something which is very less explored and which needs more exploration kind of. Again, as I said, I'll have to skip through this because I want to talk about, these kind of speeches. Thank you, Professor. So there are three levels. When we try to speak of, there are three levels. As I said, there is the level of the consciousness, which is the Pashyanti, which is the non-verbal stage. Then we have the level of the Madhyama, which is at the level of the intellect, which is known as the pre-verbal stage, that's where you start differentiating between the words and the meaning. And finally, it's the Vaikhari, the gross speech, when I'm speaking, the external manifest level of sound. So these are the three levels of sound, as I said. The Madhyama is, as I said, the Madhyama is the non-verbal, pre-verbal stage. And the Pashyanti is the non-verbal stage. So this is the pre-verbal stage where it occurs in the mind. The meaning is already there, and your idea is to just take that meaning to the receiver. So these are the three levels that are very, very important. The Pashyanti level, which is there in the level of the consciousness, which comes to the Madhyama level, which is in the level of the intellect, and finally externalization through, as I said, Vaikhari. So these are the three levels: the primal intuitive concept, the mental formulation, and the external articulation. The other part, which is again very, very relevant, is the part of aesthetic enjoyment, the rasa enjoyment. And that suggests that there are three levels of meaning. One is the primary literal meaning, which is the abhidha. The second is the lakshana, which is more like metaphorical. It's like it comes into play when the abhidha is unsuitable or insufficient to convey the intended sense. And then finally, there is the vyanjana, or the suggestion, which creates that affective influence, which creates that emotional rapture, the aesthetic rapture, as we say. So these are the three levels, and if you see the diagram, that is where the rasa, the affect part, comes in, and that has been so far one of the major trends in which we've been talking about communication. But we think that these two together, the cognitive part and the affective part, are what are not mutually exclusive, but they work together. So just to go back to the diagram again, I think it makes more sense now. As you can see, the Sphota, it leads to, this is, again, the kind of a circular thing, but it's just, as I said, more of a schematic figure. We've been talking of the Madhyam and the Vaikhari as the articulation stage, the intuition as the Pashyanti and the Pratibha stage, and across you would see the meaning and the affect or the emotional stage. 9 minutes, 48 seconds. Thank you so much, Professor.